lost and confused by you. I sit, then I stand, wondering why I feel the way I do. I try so hard to make it better, but the pain just gets deeper.
Peace, peace, peace. Peace to the water, peace to the sky, peace to the air, peace to all my brothers and sisters. This is NDN Rev live. Tonight's going to be a special night. We're going to start and jump this channel off. And it's pretty much about just, open up a book and just read. Pretty much that's it. The book that I've, picked for this playlist, it's a good book. I'm halfway through, and I'm just inspired to keep going. I mean, there's so much good information, and a lot of it I can identify, just, I would say, spiritually, it's within my psyche, that vibration, that's my truth. And then, I have my experience, all around. In my opinion, the book is, it's on point. Anyway, the title of the book, it's called I'm Not Black, I'm Indian, The Miseducation of Black Americans. And the author's the legendary Topcatz. That's with a capital Topcatz. This book was actually copyright and I soon published in 2023. So how it's going to work, I'm going to read a chapter a night. Probably not every night. I mean, let's keep it real. I'm going to just, jump on whenever I can and pick up where I left off and, get through the book. It's a really good book. I'm not going to be talking or even sharing the sources. I strongly recommend, or should I say highly recommend you to pick up the book. I'm going to see here, matter of fact, let me just give you the link to where you can go buy the book. You have to buy the book because you can't sit in on this and just listen and learn. Harder, learning is actually applying yourself. So that's really important. Let me see. The link is where we at? Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Let me go down to, okay. The book is $45, and well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the description when I upload the video. I'm sorry, not the video, the audio, because this is not going to be about the video. It's not about me. It's about, the book, the contents in the book, and hopefully you feel you feel that vibe, man. You feel encouraged to buy the book yourself and uh, read the book, along with me, and peep the sources. If you need to go and look up, you know, the the sources yourself. You can do that, in your own time. But um, I don't think we're going to have any dialogue in terms of like comments and going back and forth and wasting all that time. It's just about just reading. I mean, if it's something ideal, maybe at some point you can set up something like almost like a book club kind of thing. Everybody can just share what they have gotten out of the book and how it relates to them and how they also apply this information that is in their own like genealogy or their their life. So that's pretty much it as far as the I should say the engagement going back and forth. That's not what it's about. I've seen too many channels that have the back and forth, the arguing, and I mean I think that takes a lot away from the content. And in this case, it's not just content. What we're going to read. This is, this applies to you. I mean, if you're, one of the, one of the I don't know how you want to take it, one of the fortunate ones or the one of the unfortunate ones that was told at some point in your life, from a relative, if not your parents, you know, telling you that, you're Indian. And I think that's something, that's not just relatable. I think that's something we all can identify. Those of us who have been told that we are, Indian and American Indian, and going to school and being told different, and not just being told different, but being treated differently than than what other groups of people were treated, and some of us are still treated differently today. You know, in different aspects. But anyway, let me just uh, offer up some of the things that some of the tools that I use. I use a pen. I write in my books, so I don't just buy books just to read and then eventually give them off to people and people can take the books and never return them. I mean, I was one of those kind of guys. Somebody would lend me a book and I wouldn't return it. So that's something that I don't I don't support, nor am I about encouraging. So anyway, I have a pen. I write in my book in the margins. I write notes. I check off where I identify. I also have a dictionary because sometimes I like to look up the words because words they change, they evolve, and sometimes it's a plus to get the full meaning of a word. Then you can kind of put it in your own like conceptualized way and understand it the way you understand it, and kind of like transmit it the way you have to. That is throughout your 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 yourself, your experience. So that's important. Anyway, I mean, my man got a picture of a relative of his, and it's his grandmother. And I'm not going to read, what he wrote, that is about his grandmom or to his grandma. I mean, that's something that you have to see for yourself. Buy the book, and yeah, you can see that. Anyway, we have the contents on page 5 or 4. Again, is he has it. I'm not black. I'm Indian. The miseducation of the Black American. Then on page 5 is the contents, the preface, and the abstract introduction that goes all the way down through chapters and to 6. Okay, so when it comes to the preface, I'm not going to read verbatimly straight through all the abstract. I'm going to just kind of share some of the things that I highlighted, some of the the synthesis or even a paragraph or two that I can relate to or that jump out you know at me. So that's pretty much how I'm going to go about this. Okay, so the preface, page 1. Has your family ever told you you have Indian in your family? Did you have an Indian grandpa or grandma? Which that's a question. We always hear stories about grandma with high cheekbones and long hair. Uh, well, yeah, and also if you know, if you have good hair, people ask you, do you have Indian in you? My mother's is one of them. She has coarse hair, but her hair is it's pretty long, and she usually puts it in either in like pigtails or like she wears it kind of like braided. And people ask her, does she have Indian in her? And she kind of gets that a lot, and she tells me about it. He goes on to say, has someone ever said they have good hair because they had Indian in their blood? Basically, what I just said. Okay, so on the next page, here's another one. After Indian removal, my sixth grade grandma migrated from South Carolina to Texas in the 1830s. The land they settled on is still in my family, so he still got the actual land. He says after almost 200 years, not too much has changed. Then we go down. It says Hollywood and literature have created a standard of what an American Indian looks like. We all know that, man. You got the Long Ranger and Tonto. I mean, Tonto is like the Long Ranger, second in command. But even the Hollywood version is their version, and I think that's what most of the world has fed off of. They piggyback off of that. So a lot of these cats they judge you by that. So that's an interesting misnomer. He says, since the earliest times of first contact with nations on the American coast, the appearance and complexion of aboriginals have always been depicted as copper, dark, and light-skinned. Today's idea of an Indian is the features of the Mongoloid or Plains Indian, politically identified as Native Americans. Then we go down. African Americans identified with American Indian ancestry through oral history, whether through grandma or great grandma, which is Big Mama, who passed down the culture, cooking, recipes, and superstitions. Granddad, Big Daddy passed down stories from the family wars, hunting techniques, mechanical building skills, and how to preserve the Indian way of life. This culture is now described as Negro, Black, and African American culture. Yo, it's funny because, on my birth certificate, I don't have, what I am. And from my understanding, they didn't do that when I guess when I was issued my birth certificate. My mom said that they didn't do it for her either. But, the parents, who sign off on the birth certificate, they have, their, I guess, what their ethnicity is. So anyway, like I wouldn't say ethnicity because that's not ethnicity, but just for conversation sake. Anyway, my dad was listed as a Negro, my mom was listed as a Negro, which therefore I'm a Negro of my birth certificate. When I've shared that with a few friends, excuse me, they laughed. I mean, it was humorous, but at the same time, I was like, wow. Like, I kind of did, excuse me, I didn't know what I know now, so that was a little offensive. But, today I understand that, we have been misclassified. In fact, we have been given over 5 titles in a span of what? I don't know. Let's just go. Let's just jump off on it in the 20th century, the early 20th century, up until now. We have been at least called 3 different, names. I call it names, not identity, because this definitely does not, identify me as who I am. But anyway, yeah, man. So that's it. On my birth certificate, my mom and dad are listed as Negro. So where were we? So I guess we go to the. I'm gonna go over to the next to the abstracts and the second paragraph. I'm not black. I'm Indian. The miseducation of the Black Americans explore the impact of historical classifications and the perception of American Indians. This book raises the issue of how society and science have influenced the identification of American Indians with African heritage and the cultural tradition preserved within these communities. The story encourages a reconsideration of traditional classifications and the recognition of the diverse and intertwined histories that shape the identity of the so-called Black Americans. A key message emerging from this book is the contemporary reluctance of individuals with Black American heritage to acknowledge their American Indian roots openly. So here's the introduction. We're going to start off. I'm not going to go again throughout the whole thing for the introduction, but I'm just going to just touch this. Welcome to the Beginner's Guide to American Indian History. If you're reading this, you've probably seen or heard something about American Indians that sparked your interest, or your Southern grandma told you you were Indian. As we go down, home remedies were always our first choice, no matter the illness. Cold, cough, rashes, cuts, etc. In every indigenous culture, natural remedies come from nature. Maybe that's why I really don't like going to the doctor. And I'm not saying I've always been this way. The truth to the matter is, I had a drink problem, 30 plus years ago, and I didn't go to the doctor at that time. I was so busy, putting, that liquid poison inside my body, among other recreational toxic poisons. And when I finally, made that decision and sought out help and, got started on this path, once you put down the alcohol and whatever recreational other activities you were doing, the body starts to respond to the natural vibration, the natural resources that for most people the body even also reacts to natural resources. In other words, what I put into my body for so many years was that alcohol and drugs, and that was like my food, that was like my medicine, that was like my vitamins. And when I stopped that, all kinds of other things start to happen that didn't happen before that. I'm happy to say, it's been 30 years since, and the first couple of years, I did a lot of visits to the doctor. I knew my doctor by his first name. He knew mine by my first name. His office was in his house, and I used to call him whenever I needed to come in. And I had a lot of anxiety. I was very stressed, a lot of tension. It's one of the I guess how can I put it? What would be a good word? That was the mechanism that is to trigger, different, behaviors where alcohol and medicine basically medicated, what triggered those behaviors and calmed me down in the way that the behaviors, subsided, momentarily, or should I say, for that time that I had the the chemicals was activated in my body and mind. But my mother used to always, she still to this day always tells what her grandmother did for her and taught her. My mother was raised by her grandmother, grandfather, which both of them was totally illiterate. They couldn't read or write. They owned the farm. They owned the house, and they actually they provide their agriculture, their food to the stores, the local stores in that area where she grew up at. And yes, my mom got an education. She graduated, and she eventually moved out of the South and started to migrate up north. And she settled in D.C. and where she met my dad. And that's how or should I say, that was the beginning, or where it all started for me. Um, but to this day, she still talk about remedies, and I think everybody does. It's not just American Indians or AKA African Americans or Negroes. I mean, everybody has home remedies. It's just some people give its respect, its due respect more than others. A lot of people just like to get into that whole, uh, you know, uh, that, how can I put it, that medical prescription diet, if you will. Anyway, everybody has home remedies. That's a plus. Anyway, yeah. So that was the part of the introduction. On the next page, it says the art of agriculture was developed in the Americas. One untold truth is that soul food is known as an American Indian cuisine even today, which has been cursed as slave food that leads to health issues. The reality is soul food comes from the earth organically, providing nutritional health the body needs. Soul food has always been a staple of the food culture of America. I mean, a lot of people like soul food. I mean, but it's funny though, real quick, when it comes to soul food, not everybody, makes the same tasting and healthy soul food. We all, everybody has their touch. Everyone has their own, you know, unique, flavor of soul food, like cornbread, macaroni and cheese, potato salad, collard greens. Shit, man. My mother was just talking about chitlins the other day, and I was like, oh no. But you know what? I can't front. Growing up, my ass ate chitlins. I mean, that was part of, what we, what I did with my siblings, how we, we lived, how we survived actually, because it was food. Um, Growing up later on, once I, relocated, migrated to New York, I used to hear foods talk about, chitlins was, the leftover of the pig that the plantation uh, owners or heads or CEOs or masters, what they would give the slaves, and that's how chitlins came into play, with African Americans. But you know what? I'm glad in the beginning, starting out, that's not what I was told. Anyway, you know, I love me some sweet potato pudding, especially when Mom Dukes make it. I like the devil's eggs, especially if the Mom Dukes make it. I love her potato salad. And on cornbread, check it out, man. Like my sister-in-law, she's she's Puerto Rican, and my mom like taught her a lot. Yeah, in reference to teaching her how to make soul food, giving her recipes. And my sister-in-law now, man, she can. I mean, she puts her own little variation, her style. And I'm not by any means. I'm not insinuating because she is from the Caribbean islands that she's putting that flavor. No, that's not what I'm saying. My sister-in-law, man, she she's like a fusion kind of like cook. I mean, she somebody once said she'll cook a hot dog and make it a gourmet, like make it taste gourmet. I mean, that's how this woman can cook. But her cornbread, oh my goodness, man, her collard greens. This woman, I mean, grant you, she definitely can't do no potato salad, no uh, uh, sweet potato pudding, or just sweet potatoes. Period. And just for the record, man, candy yams is not sweet potatoes. Yes, they sweet too. They are a form of potatoes from the potato family, but they're not the same. Let me just make that clear. At least for me. I don't speak other people's truth. I only speak my truth. Okay, so nah, man, that's definitely not the case. But yeah, man, that soul food is the bomb, man, and it's a shame because my mom is like her, she's in her mid 80s now, and I can't front like me or my other two, older siblings. Like we can't cook like my mother. I mean, it's funny because my one of my brothers, he got children that can cook, man, and they can cook the fusion style, not the soul food like but the fusion style like their mother, and they do a good job. I mean, especially like on the holidays, my nephew, he can make his sweet potatoes, like he can burn, but he definitely can't make the potato salad. That comes from the I should say the matriarch, Big Mama. Big Mama makes the potato salad. Big Mama makes the sweet potato pudding. Like, you know, any other generation after that, they just can't. They can't pull off unless you're trained in the kitchen. Big Mamas give you one-on-one, hands-on. It's the only way. Anyway, he goes on to say, from our agricultural ways to our dances, folklore, food, to culture, music, even spirituality. The institutions in Hollywood can try to spin the narrative of the authentic American Indians. The answer resides in the cultural influence of the Aboriginals, hidden in the misplaced history of so-called blacks. If you were born black in America, you were told your history began with slavery. You were stripped of your name, your language, history, and culture, and there was no way you would ever get it back. This propaganda was instrumental to disconnect you from your roots, bloodline, which directly connects you to the actual source, ancestral family. Okay. On the next page, since you lost that connection, the colonizers taught you to worship your oppressor. Since you don't know your own story, the colonizer gave you one. Unfortunately, if you consider black in America, this story is a one-size-fits-all. And that's true because, man, damn. Everybody has dark skin, man. They either call black, Negro. Some call you, they use the nigger word. We spell it like, brothers spell it N-I-G-G-A. But these folks, they spell it N-I-G-E-R when they want to mean it offensive. But, everybody got dark skin. They even, be mistaken as well and called African. Everybody has dark skin. Dark skinned people call dark skinned people African. Light skinned people call dark skinned people African. So it's not. They made it a one size fit all. One complexion fits all, and that's obviously not the case, because when you flip the script and you talk about light skinned people, even to the albino, to the bone. They would say they're from Ireland. They'll say they're from Scandinavian, countries. They'll say they're from here. They're from there. And they say that albinos in every family, every ethnicity, blah blah blah, and they justify it, right? So, by melanated people in America, when we say that we're not from the islands, we're not from, not from South America, not from Central America, that, we're from North America, and certainly we're not from Africa. Like, people have a problem with that. And that's what blows my mind, because I don't have a problem with nobody where they say they're from, because that's their business. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was fortunate enough to live in Hungary, Budapest, and, Like, the gypsies that was there, they were born there. But they still was considered by the Hungarian people not to be Hungarian. And they spoke the damn language. They were born there on their birth certificates as Hungarian. That, like as far as citizens, they are Hungarian. But the Hungarian people said that they wasn't Hungarian. The Hungarian people looked down on them. Hungarian people said they was gypsies and that they was the worst of the worst. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, here, you know, we, you know, it's the same here. But the truth to the matter is, we were here first. Let's just get that out there right now for the jump, for the record. We were here first, and I mean I don't have to even cite no sources or tell you where I got that from. You got to go find out for yourself, and for some you got to look it up to get started, and then you don't end there. Exhaust that resource, and then keep going until you can conclude within yourself without a shadow of a doubt, with conviction. Say who you are. Don't let nobody else tell you who you are, nor your story. All right. Anyway, so yeah, since you've lost that connection, colonizers have taught you to worship your oppressor, and also to kind of be like them. I mean, you see that all over the world. Europeans arriving were always taught to be white colonists, but the truth was the people in power, such as the kings, were actually black. The enslavers were said to be white overseers, but the records revealed the majority were of Indian and black European origins. European migrations came from indentured servants, adventurers, redemptioners, and asylum seekers. And also, let's just add this to the mix: missionaries. You got to put those missionaries in there because they came in and they were like the cleanup crew. Anyway, the civil wars in Europe and the persecution of the Jews and Moors from the Iberian Peninsula, is, or shall I say, is talked about a little bit in the book. He also goes on to say, according to Benjamin Franklin's observations concerning the increase of mankind in 1751, the immigrations from European countries were of Negro descent. He put the sources, then he went on to add some more stuff. But I think it's important that you get the book and you can go into the preference and read it, from the beginning to the end, and get what you need to get from that. But I just want to point out one more piece to this preference, and then I'm going to end it for the night at that point, and then when we come back, we'll start off. I guess let me see, chapter 1. Okay, this last piece here, he talks about the birth of the term African American. I don't know if you know the origin of that word and how it was, put on people of copper complexion from the Americas, but here it is. In 1988, Reverend Jesse Jackson made a speech stating that black is no longer beautiful and that the African American identity was more appropriate. Just as we were called colored, but we were not that. And then Negro, but not that. To be called black is just as baseless. He puts the source on here, and that's something also you can look into when you get the book. This is a really good piece. I think it's important. It's in the preface also. The identity of so-called black Americans was created as a political construct in the U.S. government. The creation of the United States resulted from Indian wars stemming from dominance over the trade monopolies in areas of key ports, also participating in international commerce and trade, as well as domestic trade in the interior lakes streams and river systems throughout the interior of America. Now, that's also an interesting one. I really have to, just touch that one. Um, just imagine. I mean, if you have, well, put it this way: if you have something I don't have, but we both need what each other, is working with, we trade and we keep it simple, right? And that's pretty much how that went down at that time. So these trade routes were, passages. They were, like what we use GPS for to go from A to B. Like these trade routes was routes that merchants would take to get from A to B to trade their goods and to purchase goods, and that's pretty much how it went. And the idea was when they say to the monopoly of the trade routes, that means like there's 5 trade routes and 5 independent merchants. One person wanted it all, and in order to get it all, what is needed. I'll let you answer that for yourself. But anyway, he goes on to say, using the census records in your genealogy research, you will notice your ancestors transitioned from Indian to mulatto, maybe even white, to Negro and colored, and then finally to black and African American. In between these misnomers, I'm sure we all remember the term minority. Look at your birth certificate, compare it to your parents and grandparents, and notice how the race section will all be different. Since its inception, the U.S. has been created to hold jurisdiction over indigenous governments of the land. American Indian governments will be reclassified as a misnomer, not connecting them to the land, birthright, sovereignty, and self-governance. Just in closing, so we're going to just end it at that point. We did we took the title, we looked at the contents, we went into the preface, then we looked at the abstract, then we went into the introduction. So yeah, this is what you can expect to tap into when you get the book, and then some. One correction, I said preface, and it wasn't preface. To be honest with you, it was the introduction. That's what it was that I was reading the last piece from. It wasn't the preface. We passed the preface two subjects over. So this was the introduction. Just to in closing, to touch upon that mulatto and the different classifications. It's true because I'm doing my genealogy now. I've been doing it for the last year, I believe, or so, on Ancestry.com, and then I go to the National Archives. My pops, his people are from North Carolina. My mom and her people from Georgia. That's not their place of origin. Their place of origin is Mississippi. And yes, I got people that came out of Virginia as well. I even got people that came out of Europe. Some Negroes that came out that way, which is all cool. It's not about being pure blood and 100% this, 100% that. I don't really care about that. Everybody has their own story. This is my story. Anyway, looking back at my genealogy and going back to several, uh, grandparents, I've came across mulatto, I've seen colored, I've seen black, I've seen Negro. To be honest, I didn't see no African American. To tell you the truth, that's new. Like Jesse, dropped that in like 1988. We was coming out of the 80s and going into the 90s, so that's like a little bit too early for like, I believe, for that to show up on my my tree, my genealogy. But like going back like 100 years or so, Yeah, no doubt. And I see where they listed as mulatto and black, even some white. I mean, they even did some white. I mean, I've seen that. So it's crazy because the the people who did the census, the the, uh, the enumerators, like sometimes I think to myself, were they like stupid or were they just didn't know any better, or they knew enough to know to to play themselves and put what they wanted us to uh, to believe and to assume that was who we are. But yeah, I look at that a lot and I'm like, yo, that's crazy. So yeah, man, do your genealogy if you could. Do your family tree. Find out for yourself, man. Like who your people are, not were, who they are. Cause we say were, you're looking at it as a past tense. Yeah, man, we're looking at history, but we're not going down like that. Um, so yeah, so the next time we we we're gonna read, we're gonna start with chapter 1. So yeah, man, that's my time. I'm out. Peace, peace.